Just hold that for now. All right, here we go. 2.7, literal equations. Shh. Paying attention, boys. Here we go. Literal equations is kind of a weird name, but really it's just letters. Let's. Oh, goodness. Letters, how about? Okay. Letters. It's equations with lots of letters. But we are still solving equations. And again, I never like the word solve. What word do I prefer? Isolate. Okay? Isolate is a much better word than solve because it's more descriptive. All right? It tells you, it's more of an adjective. It's not an adjective. It's more of a verb telling you what you want to do. Example 1. Solve for the indicated letter. Example 1. Solve for the indicated letter. Example 1. Solve for the indicated letter. Let's see. Dustin, will you sit here, please? Thank you. Solve for the indicated letter. Okay. Again, here on letter A, it says solve for A. I don't like that word. What word would I prefer? Isolate. Isolate. Isolate the A. No, I'm fine. Okay. All right. Isolate the A. So that means we want to get the A by itself. What do we need to get rid of? The 5. How are we going to get rid of the 5? Divide by 5. Divide by 5. Very good. The 5 reduces to what? 1. Leaving A equals H divided by, done. You did it. What? I know. Totally weird, right? Not hard. In fact, while literal equations seem like they might be hard, actually easier because we don't have to do any actual math with numbers and such in our calculators, okay? All we're doing is using letters and getting things isolated. So again, it says solve for H. I don't like the word solve. What do we say instead of solve? Isolate H. All right, if we want to isolate the H, what do we need to get rid of? Get rid of the -7. How do we get rid of the -7? Add 7 to both sides. Okay, I think this is probably the hardest thing here. -7 and +7 make a 0. And we're left with an H all by itself. But can I add N and 7 together?
No.
No, you can't. And instead they just get stuck next to one another. N plus 7. That's probably the hardest thing. It does not turn in to 7N. That is a hard no. What does 7N mean?
7 times.
7 times N, which is something very, very different. James.
So just make it a bit easier, more simplistic. You just do the equation, but you don't technically isolate it.
Well, we're isolating the H. So we're getting the H alone on one side. The other side is a big mash of letters and numbers. Think about it. We'll do some more. Aaron.
I know why you don't like to use solve, because solve means you get it down to like one number.
Yes, and a lot of kids think that they solve everything. Solve is used too broadly. So I prefer isolate. I prefer evaluate. Evaluate means a number answer. This isolate just means get it by itself, right? So I like that much better. On Delta Math, when you're doing this assignment, this is a capital H and a capital N. You need to use the letter that they gave you. Keeping it caps lock is important, okay? Or lowercase is important. Keep them the same, okay? Let's try a few more. Letter C. This is a real interesting one. Letter C. Solve for A. Isolate A. And again, you can, instead of writing solve, you can write isolate A. Isolate the A. We have A times the quantity, G minus H, equals M. There are two ways that we can do this. They're both totally awesome. One is easier than the other. Do you want me to show you both ways or one way?
Just the easiest.
Raise your hand. We'll take a vote. Raise your hand if you want me to show you both ways.
Yes. Yes.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, one way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's a 9.
That's good.
Okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I will show you one way. This A is what we're trying to isolate. What do we need to get rid of? The G and the H, the whole thing. What operation is between the A and the other stuff? Multiplication. I heard distribute. The distributive property is multiplication. Okay. So right now this says A times a bunch of stuff. So how do you suppose we can get rid of this other stuff? Divide.
Whoa.
Yeah, that's it. We can divide off. Leave the A. What do we want to get rid of? G minus H. We're going to get rid of the whole thing. We're going to divide both sides by G minus H. Ladies and gentlemen, how many times does G minus H go into G minus H? One time. It goes into itself one time. Always, always, always. Leaving what? A equals M over G minus H, which is a great answer. Done. It is a little confusing. I told you that in the beginning. It's weird though, right? The other way would be to distribute, and it's a whole lot more work. So, all right, here we go. Again, not solve, isolate. Isolate B. Isolate B. We have F plus 8 equals B5Q. That's totally bizarre. Ladies and gentlemen, what operation is between all this stuff? Multiplication. I'm going to write that in right now. B times 5 times Q. And I think it's so important that we all understand when things are right next to each other with no sign in between, it's an implied multiply. Now, we're trying to get the B by itself. Isolate the B. So what do we need to get rid of? We need to get rid of 5 and Q. How do we get rid of the 5 and Q? Divide by the 5 and the Q. Divide by the 5 and the Q. 5 goes into 5 one time. Q goes into Q one time. Leaving B equals, what do we get on the left? F plus 8 divided by 5Q. That's it. Isn't that interesting? Your brain was dead and you can still understand. That's good. Okay, here's another one. We have capital D minus 4 capital G equals 1/4 B. 1/4 B. What operation is between the 1/4 and the B? Multiplication. All right, if we want to isolate b, how are we going to get the b by itself?
Divide by 1/4.
You actually can do that. Divide by 1/4. Divide by 1/4. 1/4 goes into itself one whole time, leaving b all by itself. And I am pretty darn sure you can put it in Delta Math just like this. Capital D minus 4g all divided by 1/4. Aaron.
Could you, instead of 1/4, put 0.25?
Yes, absolutely. The question was, can you put it as 0.25b and divide by 0.25? Yes, that would be equivalent. All right. You think you got that? You think you're okay with that? It's weird, but okay, right? That's sort of how it feels. It's a little weird, but it's okay. Do you need that up a little?
Yes.
Yeah? Is that better? Okay. Will, did you have your hand up?
Is it Delta Math or is it a worksheet?
Delta Math. And then we have a worksheet, which I'll let you do for extra credit. Okay. It's a great worksheet. It's a great review for your test on Friday.